Hey guys, tonight we slip into the dusty, sunlit world of a small Greek village, where the clack of looms fills the air like a heartbeat. Picture yourself standing in a cramped workshop, flax fibers floating around you, catching the golden light. The scent of olive oil and wool clings to everything, and somewhere nearby, a goat bleats like it's auditioning for a tragedy. You're here to follow a weaver named Arachne, whose nimble fingers are about to tangle with divine trouble. Fair warning, if you tried keeping up with her loom, you'd probably end up with a knotted mess and a bruised ego. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'd love to know where you're drifting off from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're in Lydia, a speck of a village in ancient Greece, sometime around the 8th century BCE. The place is no Athens, think muddy paths, thatched roofs. It's in a marketplace where the hottest gossip is, who sold a lopsided pot. Your hands are calloused, stained with dye, because you're apprenticing with Arachne, the local weaving prodigy. She's maybe 20, with sharp eyes and a smirk that says she knows she's good. Her workshop is a chaos of wooden frames, spindles, and half-finished cloth. But every piece she touches turns out perfect. You're trying to thread a shuttle, but it's like wrestling a grumpy cat. Arachne glances over, chuckles, and fixes it in 2 seconds flat. "Keep up, or you'll be sweeping floors," she teases, her voice all honeyed sarcasm. Weaving in ancient Greece isn't just a craft, it's survival. Historical records, like those pesky linear B tablets, show women wove everything: clothing, sails, even temple offerings. A good weaver could barter for grain or bronze. Arachne's work is next level, though. Her tapestries shimmer with colors nobody else can match, dyed with secrets she won't share. Rumor has it, she crushed some murex shells for that purple hue, which is basically the ancient equivalent of flexing a private jet. You're a little jealous, but mostly in awe. Why? She's teaching you to weave a pattern of waves, and it's soothing, almost meditative until she starts bragging. Here's the quirky bit. Arachne's obsessed with symmetry to a weird degree. She'll unravel a whole day's work if one thread is off by a hair. You catch her muttering to herself, measuring angles with a stick like she's solving a math problem. It's oddly calming to watch, like an ancient ASMR session. But there's tension brewing. Historians still argue whether Arachne was a real person or a myth cooked up to scare cocky artisans. Some say her story's a warning about hubris. Others think it's about class, a peasant daring to challenge the elite. For now, you're just trying not to stab your finger with the shuttle again. The village hums around you. Outside, kids chase a stray dog and an old man drones on about barley prices. You're starting to get the rhythm of the loom, each pass of the shuttle like a heartbeat. Arachne's humming a tune, something about nymphs and rivers, and it's lulling you into a daze. Her boasts are getting louder. She's muttering that no one, not even the gods, can outweave her. You exchange a nervous glance with another apprentice, a kind of talk. It's like waving a red flag at a bull, or, a goddess. For now, though, the loom keeps clacking, the sun keeps sinking. And you're just trying to stay awake long enough to finish this row. You're still in Arachne's cramped workshop, the air thick with the earthy scent of wool and dye. The loom in front of you hums as you fumble with the shuttle, trying to mimic Arachne's effortless rhythm. She's across the room, weaving a tapestry that looks like it could make a king weep threads of crimson and indigo, while blending into a scene of galloping horses. Her fingers move like they're dancing, and you're starting to realize she's not just good, she's unnatural. The village is buzzing about her, and not always in a good way. You're caught between admiration and a nagging feeling that her ego is about to weave a noose. Arachne's pride is growing like a weed. She's not just better than the other weavers in Lydia, she's saying it out loud often. Yesterday, you overheard her at the well, telling a gaggle of women that her tapestries could hang in Zeus's own hall. Kay laughed, but it was the nervous kind, like when someone jokes about stealing from a temple. You're sweeping the floor now, yip. She demoted you after that botched wave. Patterned, you notice her showing off a new piece to a merchant. It's a forest scene, so lifelike you swear the woven deer might bolt. The merchant offers her a sack of barley and a bronze dagger. She scoffs. "This is worth gold," she says, smirking. You roll your eyes. gold, in this dirt-clod village. Mainstream history backs her skill, sort of. Greek texts, like Ovid's Metamorphoses, describe Arachne as a mortal whose weaving rivaled the gods. That's a big deal in a culture where textiles were currency. Archaeologists have found loom weights in every Greek home. Proof weaving was as common as cooking. But Arachne's not content with being the best mortal. She's starting to hint she's better than Athena herself, the goddess of wisdom and crafts. You're no priest, but even you know that's like spitting in the wind. You mutter a quick prayer under your breath, just in case. Here is the quirky tidbit. Arachne's got this weird habit of weaving tiny flaws into her work, but only where no one will notice, like a single mismatched thread in a border. You spot one in that forest tapestry, a green stitch where it should be brown. When you point it out, she winks and says, "Keeps the gods from getting jealous." It's half joke, half superstition, like knocking on wood. You're not sure if she's clever or just paranoid. Historians still argue whether this flaw thing was a real Greek custom or a later storyteller's flourish. Some say it's a metaphor for human imperfection. Others think it's just a good yarn. The workshop's getting stuffy now, and you're daydreaming about the cool evening breeze. Arachne's humming again. That same nymph and river tune from yesterday call back to her smug confidence. You're back at the loom, trying a simple stripe pattern, but your mind's on her boasts. She's teaching a younger apprentice now, a girl who hangs on her every word. "Thread like you mean it," Arachne says, "or you'll be outdone by a spider." You snort. Spiders. Worst trash talk ever. But the way she says it, all sly and sharp, makes you uneasy. Outside a crow caws, and you wonder if it's a bad omen. It's probably just hungry. Still, you glance at the sky, half expecting a thunderbolt. Her pride's not just talk anymore. She's turning down customers who can't pay what she demands, and the village is starting to split. Some call her a genius. Others say she's cursed. You're threading blue wool now, and it's calming, like watching waves lap at the shore. But every time Arachne opens her mouth, you feel a knot in your gut. She's weaving something bigger than tapestries, a reputation that's starting to echo beyond Lydia. You're not sure if you're more afraid for her or of her. Either way, you're stuck here, sweeping and threading, while her ego spins a web you can't escape. You're back in Arachne's village, but now you're not in her workshop. You're standing on Mount Olympus, or at least you're imagining it crisp air, marble columns gleaming under a sky too blue to be real. Down below, Lydia's dusty paths and clacking looms feel like a speck. But you're not here for the view. You're here because Athena, goddess of wisdom and crafts, has her steely eyes fixed on Arachne. You're just a mortal, caught in the divine equivalent of a reality TV stare-down. And let us be honest, you're not sure you'd survive being noticed by a goddess? The air feels charged, like just before a storm, and you're trying not to breathe too loud. Athena's watching Arachne's every move, and it's not the proud mom kind of watching. Up here, the gods lounge on clouds. Okay, probably not. But that's how you picture it, sipping nectar and gossiping about mortals who get too big for their sandals. Arachne's boasts have reached them, carried by whispers, or maybe a nosy wind spirit. You imagine Athena, all regal in her golden armor, pausing mid-conversation with Hermes to frown. "This weaver thinks she's better than me," she says, her voice like a blade wrapped in silk. You wince. Back in the village, Arachne's probably bragging about her latest tapestry, oblivious to the divine surveillance. You want to shake her and yell, "Tone it down"? But you're just a bystander stuck in this myth. History gives us some context here. Athena's not just the goddess of weaving. She's credited with inventing the loom itself, according to ancient Greek poets like Hesiod. That's like someone claiming they code better than the guy who built the internet. Weaving was sacred to her, a symbol of order and skill, and temples often displayed tapestries as offerings. So Arachne's trash talk isn't just personal, it's practically blasphemy. You're picturing Athena now, her owl perched nearby, probably rolling its eyes at mortal audacity. You half tempted to side with Arachne's ego, is getting old, but you also admire the weaver-esque nerve. It's a weird mix. Here's the quirky bit. Athena's got a thing for disguises. Some stories say she loves popping down to earth as an old woman, or a beggar to test mortals. You imagine her now, maybe fiddling with a spindle, plotting to visit Lydia incognito. It's like a divine prank show, except the loser doesn't get a pie in the face, they get smited. You chuckle, picturing Athena practicing her humble granny voice, but then you stop. What if she's watching you right now? Nah, you're not that interesting. Still, you glance over your shoulder just in case. Historians still argue whether Athena's role in Arachne's story is about divine justice or petty jealousy. Was she defending her honor or just flexing her power? Nobody knows. But you're not betting against a goddess. Back to Olympus. You trying to blend into the scenery. Maybe you a cloud or a stray laurel bush. The vibe up here is intense. You can almost hear the other gods placing bets on how this drama will play out. Apollo's probably strumming his lyre, muttering this weaver's toast. You're starting to feel bad for Arachne, but also, girl, you brought this on yourself. Remember that tiny flaw she wove into her tapestry? The green thread in the brown border? You wonder if Athena noticed it, if it's part of why she's so ticked. The goddess isn't exactly known for letting things slide. You're itching to get back to Lydia, to see how this unfolds. But for now, you're stuck here, caught in the divine crosshairs. The air's getting cooler, and you're imagining the soft hum of a loom, like that fan you turned on before bed. It's soothing, pulling you back to Arachne's world. You're not sure what's coming next. But you know one thing, when a goddess starts paying attention, mortals start sweating. You're just glad you're not the one weaving a target on your back. For now, you take a deep breath, let the Olympian breeze wash over you. And try not to think about how small you feel under Athena's gaze. You're back in Lydia, standing in the bustling agora. The village's heartbeat where merchants hawk olives and gossip flows faster than wine. The sun's high, baking the dusty ground, and you're dodging a cart piled with ampery while trying to keep your sandals clean. The air smells of bread and sweat, and you're here because Arachne's name is on everyone's lips. Her boasts about outweaving Athena have spread like wildfire, and you're catching snatches of heated debates. You're just a bystander weaving through the crowd. But you can shake the feeling that you in over your head. Good luck surviving this rumor mill without picking a side. The agora's alive with chatter. Potter with clay-stained hands argues Arachne's a genius. His wife says she's begging for a lightning bolt. You pause by a stall selling figs, pretending to inspect the fruit while eavesdropping. An old woman, her shawl slipping, mutters that Arachne's tapestries are touched by the muses. A young shepherd scoffs, saying she's just a braggart who'll end up cursed. You're torn. You've seen Arachne's work. Those horses that seem to gallop off the cloth, but her ego's louder than a braying donkey. You grab a fig, toss the vendor a copper, and keep moving. The crowd's energy is electric, like the village knows something big's coming. Historically, the agora was more than a market. It was the social hub of Greek life. Texts like those from Aristophanes show people gathered to debate everything: politics, philosophy, or who had the best olive oil. Gossip about someone challenging a god would have been premium entertainment, like a viral X post today. Arachne's not here, but her reputation is, and it's splitting the village. You're starting to notice who's Team Arachne and who's Team Athena. The potter's wife, for instance, keeps glancing at the sky, like she expects an owl to swoop down with a divine cease and desist. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some villagers swear Arachne's loom is enchanted. You overhear a tanner claiming it hums at night, like it's weaving on its own. I passed her workshop at midnight, he whispers, and heard it clack, clack, clack. You snort. Probably just a loose beam creaking, but the story's got legs. You're tempted to sneak by her place tonight just to check. Historians still argue whether Arachne's tale reflects real religious fears, or was a later allegory for human ambition. Did Greeks really believe a mortal could rival a god, or was this a cautionary tale about disrespecting the divine? You're not sure, but the tanner's story makes you wonder if Arachne's got more than skill in her corner. You're weaving through the crowd now, past a bard strumming a lyre, singing about Orpheus. His tune's soothing, a nice callback to Arachne's humming in the workshop. Remember that nymph and river song? But the gossip's drowning him out. A group of women by a fountain are the loudest. One says Arachne's tapestries mock the gods, showing their scandals. Another defends her, saying she's just honest. You're starting to sweat, not from the heat, but from the tension. If Arachne's weaving divine, dirty laundry, no wonder Athena's got her on speed dial. Make a mental note to steer clear of her workshop for a bit. The sun's dipping, painting the agora gold, and you're feeling the day's weight. You find a shady spot under an olive tree, munching your fig. It's sweet, sticky, and calming, like the rhythm of a loom. But the debates keep swirling. Someone shouts that Arachne's planning to challenge Athena outright a public contest. You choke on a fig seed, a mortal challenging a goddess? That's not ambition. That's a death wish. The crowd's buzzing louder now, and you're caught in the middle, wondering how Arachne's ego got this far. You glance at the sky, half expecting Athena's owl to swoop in. For now, though, it's just you, the fig, and a village ready to explode with drama. You're back in Lydia, standing outside Arachne's workshop, the morning sun casting long shadows across the muddy path.
Ow.
The air's thick with the scent of dew and wool.
Ow.
And you reclutching a basket of freshly dyed threads your latest errand for the village's most infamous weaver. The buzz from the agora still ringing in your ears, all that talk of Arachne's boasts and divine scandals. Now, you rehear because she's done the unthinkable. Arachne has declared she challenged Athena to a weaving contest. You're half expecting the sky to crack open, but for now, it's just you, the basket, and a sinking feeling you wouldn't survive being this close to her hubris. Arachne's inside, pacing by her loom, her sharp eyes glinting like she's already won. You're late, she snaps, grabbing the threads without a thank you. You mumble an apology, but she's too busy ranting. Athena thinks she's untouchable, she says, her voice low but fierce. I'll weave circles around her. You're frozen, clutching the empty basket, wondering if you should bolt. The workshop's a mess, spindles scattered, dye pots bubbling. But her loom stands ready, a wooden beast waiting for battle. You're supposed to help her set it up, but your hands are shaking. This isn't just a contest. It's a cosmic middle finger to Olympus. History gives some weight to this moment. Greek mythology, as recorded by poets like Ovid, often pits mortals against gods to explore themes of pride and punishment. Arachne's challenge isn't just bold. It's a cultural lightning rod, the kind of story told to warn kids not to sass their betters or their deities. You're picturing the village now, word spreading faster than a brush fire. By noon, every potter, shepherd, and fishwife will know Arachne's thrown down the gauntlet. You're starting to wonder if you should have stayed home, maybe faked a fever. Too late now. Here's the quirky bit. Arachne's got a superstition about her loom. For any big project, she sprinkles it with barley flour, muttering something about appeasing the fates. You watch her do it now, a dusty cloud rising as she flicks the grain. Keeps the threads from snapping, she says, catching your stare. You nod, but you're thinking it's more about her nerves than the fates. It's oddly endearing, like catching a rock star double-checking their guitar strings. Historians still argue whether Arachne's challenge was meant to symbolize artistic rebellion or just plain arrogance. Was she a folk hero, sticking it to the divine elite, or a cautionary tale about overreaching? You're not sure, but that barley flour makes her seem human, not a myth. You're threading the loom now, following her barked instructions. The warp threads are tight, each one a tiny promise of the masterpiece to come. It's calming, the repetitive motion, like the hum of that fan you've got running back home. But Arachne's energy is anything but calm. She's sketching her design on a clay tablet, gods, mortals, scandals, the works. You catch a glimpse. Zeus as a swan, tricking some poor woman. Bold move, you think, but you keep your mouth shut. Remember that green thread she hid in her forest tapestry? You're betting she weave another secret flaw here, maybe to thumb her nose at Athena. The village outside is buzzing. You hear shouts, footsteps, maybe someone running to spread the news. Arachne doesn't care. Shh. She's in her zone, humming that Nymphendriver tune again, a callback to her workshop days. You're starting to feel the weight of this moment, like you're part of something bigger than Lydia. The loom's ready now, its frame gleaming with fresh oil. You step back, wiping sweat from your brow, and Arachne grins. Let's make a goddess sweat, she says. You force a laugh, but your stomach's churning. You're just a thread in her web, and the spider's about to pick a fight with a deity. Good luck with that. You're still in Arachne's workshop, the air heavy with the sharp tints of dye and the faint dust of that barley flour she sprinkled earlier. The loom looms large. Sorry bad pun, its warp threads taut and ready for the showdown Arachne's betting her life on. You're her reluctant assistant, hands still tingling from threading, and you're trying not to trip over a stray spindle. Outside, Lydia's holding its breath. The agora's gossip has boiled into a fever pitch about Arachne's challenge to Athena. You're stuck here, setting up for a divine face-off. And you're pretty sure you wouldn't survive being this close to a goddess's ego, let alone Arachne's. Arachne's all business now, her usual smirk replaced by a focus that's almost scary. She's arranging her tool shuttles, combs, a bowl of murex purple dye that smells like low tide. You're hauling in baskets of wool, dyed every shade from saffron to midnight blue, and your arms ache. Faster, she snaps, not looking up. You grumble, but obey, stacking the baskets by the loom. She's planning a tapestry to end all tapestries. Something to make Athena choke on her ambrosia. You're not sure if you're more impressed or terrified. But the loom's rhythmic creak is oddly soothing, like that fan humming back home. History gives us a glimpse of what's at stake. Greek looms, as described in archaeological finds like those from Mycenaean sites, were vertical, weighted with clay or stone, and required insane skill to produce intricate designs. Arachne's not just weaving cloth. She's crafting a statement, a mortal daring to outshine a goddess. You're picturing the village now, people probably placing bets on whether she'll pull it off or get zapped into oblivion. You're supposed to help her wind the weft threads, but you're distracted, wondering how Athena's taking this. Spoiler, probably not well. Here's the quirky tidbit. Arachne's got a pet superstition beyond the barley flour. She's tied a tiny bronze charm, shaped like a loom, to the frame, a gift from her late mother, she says. You spot it dangling, catching the sunlight, and she brushes it with her fingers for luck. Keeps the threads true, she mutters, half to herself. You smile. It's the softest you've seen her. Historians still argue whether Arachne's story was a feminist jab at divine patriarchy or a straight-up morality tale about hubris. Did she challenge Athena to prove mortal worth, or was she just too cocky for her own good? You're leaning toward cocky, but that charm makes you wonder. You're winding blue thread now, your fingers finding a rhythm that's almost meditative. Arachne's sketching again, muttering about gods and their scandal Zeropa, and that shady bowl Poseidon's underwater flings. You raise an eyebrow. You're really going there? You ask. She grins, all teeth. Why not? Truth hurts. You laugh, but it's nervous. Remember that hidden green thread in her forest tapestry? You're betting she'll sneak another flaw into this one, maybe a jab at Athena herself. The loom's ready, its frame polished to a shine. You step back, wiping dye from your hands, and feel the workshop's energy shift, like the air before a storm. Outside, a dog barks, and you hear distant voices, probably more villagers spreading the news. Arachne's humming that Nymphandriver tune again, a callback to her calmer days. But there's an edge to it now. You're starting to feel like a prop in her drama, just a thread in the web she's spinning. She tests the loom, sliding the shuttle through with a practiced flick, and the cloth begins to grow row by row. It's hypnotic, the clack-clack pulling you in, but your gut's telling you this is no ordinary project. Arachne's not just weaving a tapestry, she's weaving her fate. You glance at that bronze charm glinting softly and wonder if it's enough to keep her safe. You're standing in Arachne's workshop, the morning light filtering through a high window, casting a soft glow on the loom that's about to host the showdown of the century. The air's thick with the musky scent of wool and that faint fishy whiff from the murex dye. Outside, Lydia's buzzing word of Arachne's challenge to Athena has the village in a frenzy. But in here, it's just you, Arachne, and a strange new presence. You're clutching a wooden comb, supposed to be smoothing threads. But you're frozen, because Athena herself has just walked in. Or at least you think it's her, disguised as an old woman. You're pretty sure you wouldn't survive locking eyes with a goddess, even one playing dress-up. The door creaks shut, and this hunched figure shuffles in, leaning on a gnarled staff. Her shawl's frayed, her face lined like old leather, but her eyes sharp gray, like a storm cloud give her away. Arachne doesn't notice, too busy adjusting her loom's tension. You're trying to signal her, widening your eyes, but she's muttering about thread counts. "Can I help you, grandmother?" she says, barely looking up. The grandmother smirks, and you feel a chill like someone opened a window to Olympus. You're stuck, comb in hand, wondering if you should bow or run. Spoiler, running's not an option. History backs up Athena's sneaky side. Greek myths like those in Homer's Odyssey show her popping up in disguises to test mortal sailors, kings, now weavers. She's the goddess of strategy, after all, not just crafts, and this feels like a chess move. You're picturing her on Olympus, maybe sipping nectar with that owl of hers, deciding to humble Arachne herself. The village doesn't know she's here yet, but you're betting they'll hear soon. You glance at that bronze loom charm, Arachne. Hungry. Hungry, remember that little luck token? Swaying slightly, like it senses trouble. Here's the quirky bit. The old woman's carrying a spindle. No. But it's weirdly perfect, carved with tiny owls. Nobody else seems to notice. You spot them when she sets it down, and your stomach flips. It's like Athena's winking at you, saying, yeah, it's me. You almost laugh, but fear chokes it back. Arachne's still oblivious, offering the grandmother a stool with a half-hearted don't trip on the wool. Historians still argue whether Athena's visit was about fairness or ego. Did she want to give Arachne a chance to back down, or was she itching to flex her divine skills? You're leaning toward ego, but those owl carvings make you wonder if she's just toying with her prey. The disguised Athena speaks, her voice raspy but commanding. Heard you're the best weaver, girl, she says, eyeing Arachne's loom. Better than the gods even, you wince. Arachne, because of course she does, takes the bait. Better than anyone, she snaps, threading a crimson weft. You're screaming internally, girl. Read the room. The old woman chuckles, low and dangerous, and you're pretty sure the temperature just dropped. You're smoothing threads now, the comb's rhythm calming your nerves, like that fan humming back home. But your eyes keep darting to Athena, waiting for her to drop the disguise and go full goddess mode. Arachne is humming that Nymphendriver tune, Ginch call back to her workshop swagger butt. It's drowned out by the tension. She's showing off now, sliding her shuttle with a flourish like she's daring the old woman to critique her. You're trying to stay invisible, but Athena's gaze flicks your way, and you nearly drop the comb. Careful, child, she says, and you're not sure if she means the threads or your life choices. The loom's clacking, the charms glinting, and you're caught in the middle of a myth about to explode. You glance outside, where a crow's cawing but omen, or just hungry. Either way, you re-praying Arachne shuts up before Athena decides to weave her into next week's tapestry. The morning sun's climbing, casting jagged shadows across the clay floor, but the real heat's coming from the standoff unfolding before you. Athena, still disguised as that sharp-eyed old woman with the owl-carved spindle, is seated on a rickety stool, watching Arachne like a hawk or, an owl. You're clutching a basket of indigo threads, supposed to be sorting them, but you're too busy trying not to faint. The weaving contest is starting, and you're pretty sure you wouldn't survive being this close to a divine grudge match. Arachne's loom is set, its warp threads gleaming like they know what's at stake. Across the room, a second loom nobody saw where it came from, is ready for the old woman. Arachne's smirking, tossing her hair like she's already won. And you're wondering if she's noticed the unnatural stillness in the air, like the world's holding its breath. Let's see what you've got, grandmother, she says, sliding her shuttle with a flourish. Athena's lips twitch, not quite a smile, and you feel a prickle down your spine. You're sorting threads, the repetitive motion soothing, like that fan humming back home. But it's not enough to drown out the tension. History gives us a glimpse of what's happening. Greek weaving contests, while not exactly Olympic events, were real in some communities, especially during festivals honoring Athena. It's mentioned in texts like Pausanias' description of Greece. There were tests of skill, not divine showdowns, but Arachne's turned this into a cosmic cage match. You're picturing the village outside, probably packed with gawkers waiting for news. You glance at that bronze loom charm, remember? Arachne's luck token, dangling quietly like it's trying to stay out of this. You're not sure it's enough to save her now? Here's the quirky bit. Arachne's weaving with a shuttle she carved herself, etched with a tiny spider. You spot it as she works, the wood flashing in her hand. For luck, she said once, winking, back when you were sweeping her floor. You almost chuckle, but Athena's presence kills the mood. The goddess, still playing granny, is weaving too, her movements impossibly smooth, like water flowing. You're mesmerized, caught between their looms, each clack a heartbeat. Historians still argue whether this contest was meant to show divine superiority or human grit. Was Athena proving a point, or was Arachne's skill a real threat? You're not sure, but the spider shuttle makes you think Arachne's got more nerve than sense. Both women are in their zone now. Arachne's tapestry is taking shape. Gods, mortals, scandals, just like she planned. You catch glimpses. Zeus as a golden shower, tricking some poor soul. Bold, you think, but reckless. Athena's work is hidden, her loom angled away, but the colors gold, sapphire, emerald gleam like they're alive. You're trying to stay useful, passing Arachne more thread, but your hands shake. She's humming that nymph-and-driver tune again, called back to her workshop days, but it's faster now, defiant. You glance at Athena, expecting a smite any second. But she's just weaving, her old fingers moving like they're conducting a symphony. The workshop's quiet except for the loom's rhythmic clack-clack, like a duel in slow motion. You're starting to feel the weight of this moment, like you're a thread caught between two needles. Arachne's not slowing down, her shuttle flying. And you're betting she's weaving one of those secret flaws? Remember that green thread in her forest tapestry? To thumb her nose at Athena? The goddess doesn't react, but her eyes glint, and you're pretty sure she's counting every stitch. Outside, a rooster crows, and you jump, dropping a thread. Athena glances your way, and you freeze, praying she doesn't turn you into a toad. For now, the looms keep singing, and you're just trying to breathe through the divine drama unfolding in front of you. And you're still in Arachne's workshop, the air heavy with the earthy scent of wool and the sharp sting of dye. The looms are in full swing, their clack-clack filling the room like a heartbeat. And you standing between two worlds, Arachne's mortal defiance and Athena's divine precision. You're supposed to be fetching more saffron thread, but you're rooted to the spot, eyes locked on Arachne's tapestry. It's taking shape, and it's not just beautiful, it's a scandal sheet woven in wool. You're pretty sure you wouldn't survive being the one to hang this in a temple, but Arachne's weaving like she's got nothing to lose. Her tapestry is a masterpiece of audacity. You lean closer, catching scenes of the god's worst moments. Zeus as a swan, seducing Leda. Poseidon tangled with a mortal in a sea cave. Apollo chasing a nymph who clearly isn't interested. Each figure is vivid, their expressions almost mocking, and the colors crimson, gold, indigo pop like they're glowing. Arachne's fingers fly, her spider-etched shuttle darting through the weft. You're in awe, but also terrified. This isn't just art. It's a divine roast, and Athena's right there, still disguised as the old woman, weaving her own mystery piece. You glance at her loom, but she's angled it so you can't see. Sneaky. History gives us some context. Greek tapestries, as described in sources like the Iliad, often told stories, wars, heroes, gods, but Arachne's breaking the mold. She's exposing divine flaws, which is bold for a culture where insulting the gods could get you shunned or worse. You're picturing the village outside, oblivious to the drama in here. They're probably still gossiping in the agora, betting on Arachne's fate. You touch that bronze loom charm, remember her luck token, hoping it's got some juice left, because she's going to need it. Here's the quirky bit. Arachne's added a border to her tapestry, a pattern of interlocking spiders. You spot it as she weaves. Tiny 8-legged shapes dancing along the edges. Keeps it grounded, she mutters when you stare too long, her voice all sly confidence. You smirk spiders again? Girl's got a brand? But it's also a jab, like she's daring Athena to notice. Historians still argue whether Arachne's tapestry was an act of genius or suicide. Was she critiquing divine power like some proto-rebel? Or just flexing her skill to a fatal degree? You're leaning toward rebel, but those spiders make you wonder if she's trolling the goddess outright. Athena's still weaving, her old hands moving with eerie grace. You're trying to peek at her work, but she shifts, blocking your view with a shoulder that's way too strong for a granny. You're back to fetching thread, the repetitive motion calming, like that fan humming back home. Arachne's humming too that nymph-and-driver tune, call back to her workshop swagger, but it's got a defiant edge now, like she's taunting Athena with every note. You're betting she's woven one of those secret flaws, remember that green thread in her forest tapestry? Maybe a misplaced stitch in Zeus's swan feathers. You wouldn't put it past her. The workshop's tense, the loom's rhythm, a duel in slow motion. You're starting to feel like a prop, caught between Arachne's bravado and Athena's quiet storm. Outside, a breeze rattles the shutters, and you jump, half expecting a thunderbolt. No such luck, it's just the wind. You glance at Athena, her gray eyes flicking to Arachne's tapestry for a split second. Did she see the spiders, the scandals? You're not sure, but her fingers don't falter, and that scares you more than a smite would. You're just a thread in this web, and Arachne's weaving herself into a corner. You take a deep breath, clutching the saffron wool, and pray you don't get caught in the fallout. The looms are singing, their clack-clack, a relentless duel. and you're hovering near Arachne's side, holding a skein of emerald thread she hasn't asked for yet. Her tapestry, with its scandalous gods and spider borders, is nearly done. But your eyes are drawn across the room. Athena's still playing the old woman card, with those owl-sharp eyes, just finished her own work. You're about to see a goddess's masterpiece, and you're pretty sure you wouldn't survive trying to critique it. Athena angles her loom so you can finally see her tapestry. It's like staring into the sun except, without the blindness. It's a celebration of divine glory. Athena herself, helmet gleaming, stands triumphant over Poseidon in their contest for Athens. Olive trees sprout around her, woven in greens so vivid they seem to sway. The gods watch from Olympus, their faces serene, and the borders shimmer with golden owls, a not-so-subtle flex. Every stitch is perfect, the colors blending like a sunset, and you're almost dizzy from the sheer skill. You glance at Arachne, expecting her to flinch, but she's just glaring, her spider-etched shuttle still in hand. History backs up Athena's flex. Greek art, like the Parthenon friezes, often depicted gods in moments of victory, reinforcing their power. Tapestries like Athena's would have been temple offerings, meant to awe mortals into submission. You're picturing the village outside, still clueless about the divine guest in their midst. They'd probably faint if they saw this. You touch that bronze loom charm, remember Arachne's luck token? Dangling quietly, and wonder if it's got any chance against a goddess who weaves like she invented thread itself. Where's the quirky bit? Athena's tapestry has a tiny oddity, almost invisible. You spot a single silver thread in one owl's eye, glinting like it's winking at you. It's deliberate, you're sure. Like Arachne's hidden flaws, call back to that green thread in her forest tapestry. Is Athena mocking her? Showing she can play the imperfection game too? You stifle a laugh, imagining the goddess muttering, "Take that, mortal." Historians still argue whether Athena's tapestry was meant to humble Arachne or just flex divine superiority. Was it a fair contest, or a rigged setup to crush a cocky human? You're leaning toward rigged, but that silver thread makes you wonder if Athena's having a little fun. Arachne's not backing down. She's adding final touches to her own tapestry. Another scandal. Maybe Aphrodite's latest fling-and? You're passing her that emerald thread, your hands steady despite the tension. Her humming stopped, replaced by a low mutter, something about gods and lies. You're starting to feel the weight of this moment, like you're standing on a cliff's edge. Athena's tapestry is flawless, a divine mic drop, but Arachne's is raw, human, defiant. You're caught between them, a mortal speck in a cosmic showdown. The looms have gone quiet now, their song's done, and the workshop feels like it's holding its breath. Outside, a dog howls, and you flinch, half expecting Zeus to crash the party. No lightning yet, just the wind rattling the shutters. You glance at Athena, her old face unreadable, but those gray eyes are locked on Arachne's tapestry. You're betting she's seen the spider borders, the divine scandals, maybe even that secret flaw Arachne surely wove in. You're not sure who won, but you know one thing. The air is crackling, and you're just a thread in a web about to snap. You take a deep breath, clutching the empty skein, and brace for whatever comes next. Because when a goddess and a mortal lock looms, someone's getting woven into history. The air thick with the scent of wool and dye. But now it's humming with something else. It's anticipation, dread, it's maybe a whisper of divine static that makes your hair stand on end. The looms are silent, their weaving songs finished, and you're clutching an empty skein of yarn, trying not to breathe too loudly lest you draw attention. Arachne's tapestry hangs on one side. Bold and brash with its scandalous gods and intricate spider borders, a masterpiece that screams defiance. Across the room, the old woman's tapestry glows with divine perfection, all godly glory and flawless stitches. Tension is so thick you could weave it into a rug, and you're just hoping you don't get caught in the crossfire. The old woman who's been hunched over her loom this whole time. Muttering about thread, tension stands up straight, her shawl slipping to the floor. You blink and suddenly she's not old anymore. Her wrinkles smooth out like someone's ironed her face, her back unbends, and her form stretches tall and commanding. A helmet gleams on her head, etched with tiny owl, feathers adorable, yet terrifying, like a kitten packing a switchblade. Her eyes flash storm gray, crackling with a light that's definitely not mortal. And you drop the skein, stumbling backward into a pile of wool scraps. Your heart's doing a frantic little dance, because, yep, that's Athena, goddess of wisdom and war. And she's not here to trade crafting tips. Arachne freezes mid-smirk, her confidence flickering like a candle in a draft. You see her fingers twitch toward that bronze loom charm her so-called luck token dangling from her setup. It's not looking so lucky now, is it? You're not much better off, trembling so hard you're half convinced you'll unravel like a bad sweater. Athena doesn't even glance your way, thank the gods for small mercies, but her presence fills the room, heavy and electric, like a storm about to break. She strides to Arachne's loom, her sandals silent on the stone floor, and her gaze sweeps over the woven scandals stitched into the fabric. There's Zeus, mid-transformation into a swan, feathers everywhere. Poseidon tangled in seaweed with some mortal lover, Apollo strumming a lyre and chasing a nymph who's rolling her eyes. Each scene is vivid, dripping with mockery, and you swear the temperature drops 10 degrees as Athena takes it all in. The room feels like it's holding its breath war. Maybe that's just you, clutching the fallen skein like a lifeline, Arachne standing there, chin tilted up in defiance. But her eyes keep darting to that charm, as if it might sprout wings and save her. Athena's face tightens, her lips pressing into a thin, furious line. The air crackles, like the moment before lightning splits the sky. And you're pretty sure you're not imagining the faint hum vibrating through the floor. Her voice, when she finally speaks, is like thunder wrapped in velvet, soft but deadly. You dare mock the gods, mortal? She says, each word landing like a hammer on an anvil. Your skill is great, I'll grant you that, but your disrespect is greater. She sweeps a hand toward her own tapestry, a dazzling display of divine triumphs, herself victorious, olives sprouting from the earth, gods nodding in approval. This is true art, she declares, a tribute to the divine. Yours is an insult, woven with arrogance. Arachne opens her mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to dig her grave deeper, but Athena's glare could melt bronze. And the words die on her lips. You're just trying to blend into the wall, wishing you'd stayed home today, or at least picked a less dramatic hobby like pottery. Your mind's racing. And you can't help but think of hubris, that classic Greek obsession where mortals overreach and the gods slap them back down. It's practically a national sport in these myths. Sisyphus with his rock, Icarus with his wings, and now Arachne with her loom. History tells us the Greeks took hubris seriously. It was the ultimate sin, a one-way ticket to divine payback. Arachne's playing the game with both hands tied behind her back, and you're not sure if you admire her guts or pity her folly. Here is a quirky little detail to lighten the mood. Athena's helmet has a tiny scratch on the side, barely noticeable unless she turns just right. You spot it when she pivots to face Arachne fully, and your brain does a double take weight. Is that on purpose? Maybe it's her nod to imperfection. A subtle jab at Arachne's hidden flaws. Or maybe she just banged it up fighting a hydra last week. You almost snicker. But the fear chokes it back, laughing. At a goddess mid-rage is a terrible life choice. Athena's not letting up. She circles Arachne's loom like a predator, her fingers brushing the threads, and you swear the tapestry quivers under her touch. You think you're better than me? She asks, her voice dropping low, dangerous, the kind of tone that makes you want to hide under a table. Arachne, bless her stubborn soul, doesn't flinch. I am better, she snaps, and you wince so hard your teeth hurt. Girl, no. Read the room. Athena's eyes flash, bright enough to blind, and for a heartbeat you think she's about to smite her into next week. Instead, she laughs, sharp icy sound, like a frozen lake cracking open. Then let's see how you fare as a weaver forever, she says, and a chill races down your spine, cold and final. You don't know what that means yet, but it's got bad news written all over it. Arachne's face pales, and she stumbles back, her hip bumping the loom. That bronze charm clinks against the frame, a small, pitiful sound in the silence. You're frozen, the skein slipping from your shaky fingers again, and you're pretty sure you're about to witness something straight out of a nightmare. Terrible, and way above your pay grade. Outside, a crow caws, sharp and sudden, and you jump, half expecting Zeus to burst in and make this a full-on godly showdown. No dice-its, just you, Arachne, and one seriously ticked-off goddess. Oh, and here's something scholars still bicker about over their dusty scrolls. Was Athena's wrath justified, or was this just divine ego tripping? On one hand, Arachne's tapestry is a blatant middle finger to the gods. Disrespecting them in thread form is bold, even by mortal standards. On the other, Athena's reaction feels personal, like Arachne's skill poked a hole in her pride. Was she defending sacred honor? Or was this a goddess throwing a tantrum because a human dared to outshine her? You're leaning toward the ego theory, but that scratched helmet makes you wonder if even Athena's got her own insecurities to wrestle with. Either way, you're stuck in the middle, a trembling thread in this unraveling web, and the spider's about to strike.
Good luck.
The scent of wool and dye lingers, but it's drowned out by the electric hum of Athena's presence, no longer hidden behind her old woman disguise. She stands tall, her helmet glinting with that tiny, mysterious scratch, her storm-gray eyes locked on Arachne. You're crouched behind a pile of wool, clutching a dropped skein like it's a shield. And you're pretty sure you wouldn't survive being noticed right now. Arachne's tapestry, with its scandalous gods and spider borders, hangs defiantly, but her face is pale, her hand hovering near that bronze loom charm. Remember her luck token? It's not looking so lucky as Athena's last words echo. Let us see how you fare as a weaver forever. Athena raises a hand, and the air shimmers, like heat rising from a sun-baked road. You blink, and suddenly Arachne's shrinking, her arms thinning, her legs multiplying, her body collapsing into something small and skittering. You stifle a gasp as she transforms, her human form twisting into a spider, no bigger than a coin, with glossy black legs, and a faint pattern on its back that looks suspiciously like a loom. She scuttles across the floor, her movements jerky, and you're torn between horror and fascination. The loom charm clinks against the frame, a sad little sound, and you realize Arachne's not Arachne anymore, not the brash weaver anyway. She's a creature, cursed to spin for eternity. You're shaking, your heart pounding like a festival drum, but Athena's not done. She steps forward, her sandals silent, and looms over the spider. Ironic, right? Her voice low and cold. Weave your webs, mortal, she says, and let them remind the world of your folly. The spider that was Arachne freezes, then darts under the loom, disappearing into a crack in the wall. You're half expecting Athena to smite the whole workshop, but she just turns, her gaze sweeping the room. You duck lower, praying she doesn't see you, and for once luck's on your side. Her eyes linger on Arachne's tapestry, then she vanishes poofed, like a candle snuffed out, leaving only a faint scent of olive oil and ozone. The workshop's silent now, except for the soft creak of the loom settling. You crawl out, your knees wobbly, and stare at the spot where Arachne disappeared. Her tapestry still hangs, untouched, its colors blazing Zeus's swan, Poseidon's fling, those cheeky spider borders. You're tempted to touch it, but you're not that stupid. Instead, you glance at Athena's tapestry. All divine glory and perfect stitches, with that single silver thread in the owl's eye, call back to her subtle flex. It's beautiful, but cold, like a temple statue. Arachne's feels alive, human, flawed. You're not sure who won, but you know who paid the price. History gives us some context. Greek myths, like those in Ovid's Metamorphoses, often use transformation as punishment. Think Actaeon turned into a stag, or Lycaon into a wolf. Arachne's spider curse fits the pattern. A mortal-esque skill or a sin reshaped into eternal reminder. Spiders were common in Greece, their webs both admired and annoying, making Arachne's fate a poetic jab. You're picturing the village outside, still buzzing with gossip. Unaware their star weaver's now spinning silk in a corner. You wonder if they'll find her tapestry, if it'll become a legend or a warning. Here's the quirky bit. You spot a tiny web already forming in the crack where Arachne vanished. It's delicate and precise, like a miniature tapestry. It's almost funny she's still weaving, even as a spider, sticking to her craft with that stubborn pride. You chuckle nervously, then stop, worried Athena might hear. Historians still argue whether Arachne's transformation was pure punishment or a twisted kind of mercy. Did Athena doom her to a creepy-crawly life, or give her immortality as the ultimate weaver? You're leaning toward punishment, but that web makes you wonder if Arachne still got a spark of defiance. You're alone now, the workshop eerily quiet. Pick up the dropped skein, its indigo thread soft, and start winding it, the motion calming, like that fan humming back home. Arachne's humming is gonna know. More nymphin-driver tune, but you swear you hear a faint skittering in the walls. Outside, a breeze rattles the shutters, and you jump, half expecting Athena's owl to swoop in. No owl, just the wind. You glance at the looms, one mortal, one divine, and feel the weight of what just happened. Arachne's gone, but her story's not. You're just a thread in it, and you're starting to think this web's bigger than Lydia, bigger than you can grasp. You're still in Arachne's workshop, the air heavy with the ghosts of dye and wool. But it's quieter now, like the world's catching its breath after Athena's exit. The looms stand silent, one draped with Arachne's scandalous tapestry, the other glowing with Athena's divine flecks. You're alone, clutching that indigo skein, your hands moving absently to keep from shaking. The bronze loom charm Arachne's luck token dangles forlornly, and in the corner, a tiny web glints where Arachne, now a spider, vanished. You're trying to process her transformation. Let us be real. You're not sure you'd survive being the one to tell the village their Starweaver-esque scuttling up walls now? You step outside, the midday sun warm on your face, and take a deep breath. Lydia's buzzing, but it's the usual chaos kids, chasing goats, merchants haggling over figs. Nobody knows what went down in the workshop, and you're not about to spill. Instead, you follow a hunch, heading toward the olive grove where Arachne used to sit. Back when she was human, and just a little less cocky, the grove's quiet, dappled with shade, and you spot it. A delicate web strung between two branches, its threads catching the light like spun silver. Oh, you kneel, peering closer, and swear you see a pattern, a tiny loom shape woven into the silk. Arachne's still at it, weaving her defiance in miniature. You shake your head, half mused, half creeped out. History gives us some perspective. Spiders in ancient Greece weren't just pests. They were symbols of craft and persistence, as noted in texts like Pliny's Natural History. Arachne's transformation into one wasn't random, it's a mythic jab, tying her skill to her punishment. Her new life as a spider means she's still creating, but on nature's terms, not hers. You're picturing her now, those 8 legs spinning with the same precision she used on her loom. The village will probably turn her story into a cautionary tale, whispered over wine in the agora. You wonder if her tapestry Zeus's swan, those spider borders, will survive, or if Athena's will overshadow it. Here's the quirky bit. The web in the grove has a single odd thread, a faint reddish strand where the rest are silver. It's like Arachne's secret flaws, call back to that green thread in her forest tapestry, her way of saying, I'm still me. You chuckle softly, imagining her tiny spider self smirking as she wove it. It's oddly comforting, like she's not totally gone. Historians still argue whether Arachne's spider form was a curse or a kind of immortality. Did Athena trap her in a humiliating shell, or grant her eternal craft in a new body? You're leaning toward curse, but that red thread makes you think she's still fighting, in her own way. You sit under the olive tree, the grass cool against your legs, and let the grove's quiet wash over you. The web sways in the breeze, delicate but strong, and you're starting to see Arachne differently. She's not the brash weaver anymore, not the mortal who challenged a goddess. She's something else, smaller, humbler, but still creating. You think back to her humming that nymph and driver tune, and wonder if she's singing it in her head as she spins. The rhythm of your breathing slows like that fan humming back home, and you feel a strange peace. Arachne's story isn't over, it's just shifted, like a thread changing color mid-weave. Back in the village, you hear distant laughter, a cart creaking, life going on. You're not ready to face the agora's gossip, not ready to answer questions about Arachne's fate. For now, you stay here, watching the web catch the sunlight, its loom pattern glinting like a secret. You're just a mortal, caught in a myth bigger than you, but you feel connected to her, to this tiny act of defiance. The wind rustles the leaves, and you glance up, half expecting Athena's owl to be watching. Nothing, just a sparrow. You lean back, the olive tree solid against your spine, and let the grove's calm pull you under, one breath at a time. You're no longer in Arachne's workshop, nor the olive grove where you found her tiny, defiant web. Now you're wandering the edges of Lydia, where the village meets the wild, think scruffy hills dotted with thyme and the occasional bleeding goat. The late afternoon sun paints everything golden, and you're tracing Arachne's story, not as a weaver or a spider, but as a legend taking root. Your sandals crunch on gravel, and you're carrying nothing but a water skin and a head full of questions. The village is behind you, still buzzing with rumors, but out here, It's just you and the echoes of Arachne's tale. You're pretty sure you wouldn't survive trying to tell it in the Agora, but you're starting to see how her story wove itself into Greek culture. You pause by a crumbling stone wall, where a spider, maybe not her, but close enough, spins a web between two rocks. Its threads catch the light, delicate yet tough. And you can't help but think of Arachne's tapestries. Bold, flawed, unforgettable. Her myth, you realize, isn't just a one-off tragedy. It's a thread in the Greek tapestry, a story told to warn, inspire, or just pass the time. You imagine mothers in Lydia, years from now, pointing at webs and telling their kids, "Don't boast like Arachne, or you'll end up spinning silk." It's a cautionary tale, sure, but also a nod to her skill, her nerve. You sit on the wall, sipping from your water skin, and let the idea settle. History backs this up. Greek myths, as preserved in works like Ovid's Metamorphoses or Hesiod's poems, weren't just entertainment. They were cultural glue, shaping values and explaining the world. Arachne's story, with its mix of hubris and artistry, fit perfectly. It warned against pride, but also celebrated human craft. Webs became symbols of ingenuity, even if they came with a creepy-crawly asterisk. You're picturing bards in the Agora, strumming lyres and spinning her tale, maybe exaggerating Athena's wrath or Arachne's sass. That bronze loom charm, remember her luck token, might even become a relic, passed down as proof she was real. Here's the quirky bit. Some villagers, you've heard, are already leaving offerings near web spits of wool. A drop of wine as if Arachne's a minor spirit now. You spot a scrap of blue thread tucked into a nearby web, and you chuckle, picturing a shepherd muttering. For the weaver, it's sweet, in a superstitious way, like tossing salt over your shoulder. Historians still argue whether Arachne's myth was a religious warning or a social commentary. Was it about respecting the gods, or did it reflect tensions between mortals and the divine elite? You leaning toward commentary, her spider borders, and that red thread in the grove? S-Web scream rebellion, but the offerings make you wonder if she's becoming a folk hero. You're walking again, the hills sloping gently, and the rhythm of your steps is soothing, like that fan humming back home. You think of Arachne's tapestry, Zeus's swan. Those scandalous gods, and wonder if it's still in the workshop, or if someone's hidden it from Athena's wrath. Her story spreading, you can feel it, carried on voices like threads on a loom. You pass a goatherd, who nods and says, "Heard about the weaver? Cursed, they say?" You nod back, keeping quiet, but inside, you're piecing it together. Arachne's not just a spider. She's a symbol, a warning, a spark. Her humming, that Nymphond River tune, feels like it's woven into the wind now. Sun's dipping, casting long shadows, and you find a flat rock to rest on. The web by the wall glints, its loom-like pattern a faint echo of Arachne's craft. You're starting to feel her legacy, not as a tragedy, but as something alive, growing. Greek culture loves its stories, heroes, monsters, fools, and Arachnes, all three.
Ow.
You lean back, the rock, cool against your palms, and let the day's warmth fade. The village's noise is distant, the goats are quiet. And you're just a thread in this myth, watching it spin out into forever. You're no longer on the hills outside Lydia, tracing Arachne's web-strewn legacy. Oh, you're lying under a vast night sky, sprawled on a soft blanket in a quiet meadow where the village hum can reach. The stars glitter above, each one a tiny loom weaving light into the dark. And you're breathing slow, letting the cool grass tickle your neck. A faint breeze carries the scent of thyme and earth. And somewhere nearby, a cricket chirps, its rhythm blending with the memory of Arachne's loom clack. Clack, soft and steady. You're here to let her story fade, to drift into the myth's gentle close. And you're pretty sure you wouldn't survive trying to stay awake much longer. The meadow feels like a cradle, rocking you into calm as you think of Arachne, not the brash weaver, not the cursed spider, but the story she's become. You imagine her web, maybe the one in the olive grove with that cheeky red thread call back to her defiant flaws glinting under moonlight, still spinning her tale. Her myth has settled into Greece, a whisper in every village, a warning in every tapestry. You see her in the stars now, a constellation that might not exist but feels right. A loom, a spider, a girl who dared. The cricket song slows, and you sink deeper into the blanket, your eyelids heavy, like they're woven with sleep. History ties this together. Greek myths, as scholars like those quoting Hesiod know, were more than bedtime stories. They explained life's edges, why spiders spin, why pride stings. Arachne's tale, with its hubris and craft, became a thread in that fabric. It's told to teach humility, but also to marvel at human skill. You're picturing a bard, years from now, singing of her in a smoky tavern. His lyre echoing that nymph and driver tune she loved. Her bronze loom charm remembered that luck token. It might be long gone, but her story's not. It's in the webs, the looms, the quiet pride of every weaver who knows her name. Here's the quirky bit. You swear you see a spider, tiny and black, scuttle across your blanket, pausing like it's sizing you up. Its back glints with a faint loom pattern, and you smile, too sleepy to flinch. To go, weave Arachne, you murmur, and it darts off as if it heard. Historians still argue whether her myth was a divine power trip or a nod to mortal grit. Was Athena's curse meant to crush her, or did it make her eternal, a weaver in every web? You're too drowsy to pick a side, but that spider makes you think she's still out there, spinning her truth. The stars blur, softening at the edges, and your breathing matches the cricket's rhythm, slow and deep. You think of Arachne's tapestries, Zeus's swan. Those spider borders, and wonder if it's hidden somewhere, a secret kept from Athena's wrath. The meadow's quiet now, the breeze fading, and you feel the myth slipping away, like a thread pulled loose. You're just a listener, a dreamer, caught in her web for one night. The world feels softer, safer, and you let it carry you like a shuttle through warp into the dark. Now, let's ease you into sleep, nice and slow, like a web swaying in a gentle breeze. Picture that meadow, the stars above fading into a soft, velvety black, each one winking out with a promise to return. Your blanket's warm, the grass beneath it cool, and the cricket's song is a whisper, barely there, like a lullaby from the earth itself. Arachne's story lingers, but it's softer now, the clash of looms or the sting of divine wrath. But a quiet hum, a thread of courage and craft woven into the night. You don't need to hold on to it. Let it drift. Let it settle into your dreams like dust on a loom. Feel your breath slow and even, matching the rhythm of the world around you. The rustle of leaves, the faint sigh of wind. The meadow cradles you, its sense of time and earth wrapping you in calm. You're safe here, no gods to challenge, no webs to weave, just you, the stars, and the gentle pull of sleep. Imagine a tiny spider, maybe Arachne herself, spinning a web above you, its threads glowing faintly, a canopy of dreams. Each strand catches a worry, a thought, and holds it so you don't have to. Let your eyes close, your body sink, your mind wander to a place where looms are silent and stories are soft. You're almost there, floating on the edge of dreams, where Arachne's humming that nymph and driver tune blends with the night. Sleep's waiting, warm and deep, and you're ready.
Oh.
Drift now, sweet dreamer, into the dark, where webs are spun of starlight,